Welcome to We Digress with Joi and Jess. Join hosts and longtime friends Joy Simpson and Jess Perry as they tackle the stuff of life the only way they know how, with honesty, faith, and humor. This is We Digress with Joi and Jess.
On that note.
And on that note, welcome to We Digress with Joi and Jess. I am Joy.
And I am Jess.
She blinked this time. It wasn't me this time.
I know. I had to stop and think about my own name. Now I know it's that moment of panic.
Now you know what it feels like. Because normally it's me blanking out on the name I've had for 39 years.
I was like, oh, we're doing it backwards this week. I was like, yeah, I'm into it. And then I was like, oh, I have to say something.
Welcome, guys, to the week of randomness with Joi and Jess, because we are having a week. Like it is been a week, to be honest with you.
It is. I feel like
I'm gonna have a sip of ginger ale. # not sponsored.
But if they want to sponsor, come on, Canada Dry, get up on it.
I'm all about it.
It's been a busy week, and it's been hot, and it's like it's just too
much.
Eating
busy don't work. I think that's part of the problem. Like, when you're busy and it's hot, like, I feel more anxious and pressure and annoyed and upset.
And it's been muggy. And for us here in Southern California, muggy is not usually a thing that we have.
But it's monsoony all week.
So we're not used to it.
Well, when I lived in Arizona, monsoon was very normal, very common.
Yeah.
Now, when I first moved there, though, I didn't really know about monsoons because I grew up in LA. We didn't have that. And so you see tumbleweeds literally, I thought it just happened in movies, old Westerns, things like that, right? No. Literally in Phoenix, Arizona, in the middle of the street, there were big old and small tumbleweeds just rolling in the street, heat happening, mugginess going on, and rain just happening all at the same time. And it's like you're not really wet from the rain because Arizona's so doggone hot. Like it dries instantly. And I'm not exaggerating. Like it's I know I can exaggerate because I'm dramatic, but I'm really not exaggerating.
No, it's not hot. Well, and I don't remember if I've told this story before, but like last time we were in Georgia, we got caught in thunderstorms. They have summer thunderstorms. Because it's hurricane season, and so they're getting the tail end of tropical storms and stuff. And we got dumped on after lunch one day, like literally from the time like my in-laws went to go get the car, and when they popped up next to the restaurant where we had eaten to grab us, because I'd run into the restroom or something, and by the time we got from the front door to the car, which was at the curb, we were just soaked. It was coming down so hard, and but crazy. I was dry within 10 minutes. Like it was warm enough that I was just like, meh, okay.
Well, yeah. I mean, yeah, other states this weather feels weird. And then I saw today that it's going to rain in Southern California next week.
Yes.
Like Monday, Tuesday, it's supposed to rain. So good times. Thanks,
we could use it. It'd be good.
We could use it for various reasons. I don't have an issue with rain. People think I just don't like rain. That's not the thing. I don't like being out in rain.
Oh, yeah. If I'm inside.
Now, if I have nothing to do and I don't need to go anywhere, then rain on, rain. Rain during the pandemic would have been perfect because we only had a little bit of rain during the pandemic out here. But it was perfect because I didn't have nowhere to go. I had to be at home. It got so bad especially because of my injury. When it would rain, I'd call in for a sub because I did not feel secure enough to be out in the slippery streets. So,
well, in California, we don't know how to do rain. We don't get enough of it to know how to operate in it. People have no clue.
I'm hearing people irritate me.
Oh yeah,
when it rains, I'm like, what are you doing? It's like all of a sudden people in Los Angeles and California, Southern California, period, just don't know how to drive when it rains. Like I don't know where that came from, why, like all of a sudden people like brake extremely harder than normal. They drive faster thinking it's weird. It's just very odd. those of you who make fun of Californians for driving in the rain who have moved here from other places, I understand.
We do
That's
too.
one thing I'm not going to defend California on. Like,
nope.
We deserve that. Like,
it's funny when I had my learner's permit when I was 17 or 15 or whatever, how old you are, 15, I guess it was. It was an El Nino year. So I learned to drive in the rain. So to me, like that was the foundation of my driving. And so I like to consider myself to be fairly good at driving in the rain. Like I know how to do it. Like it was seriously an El Nino year and we had a ton of rain. So I'm like, okay, no problem to drive in the rain. And I've driven in all kinds of weather, out of state and things like that. So it just drives me bonkers when I see people not slowing down, like driving the same speed. And I'm like, slow your roll. You do not need to get there 30 seconds faster. You'll be fine.
It's so right. Well, first of all, have you noticed though, outside of rain, because God bless California, Southern California when it rains, but also lately, people have been just driving nuts. Like,
oh my gosh.
So I thought it was just bad when I was in Vegas and that Vegas drivers were bad because
they are
generally Vegas drivers are bad. Sorry, people who are from Vegas.
No, they believe it too.
It's real. Like my sister and I went, for our cousin's wedding. And I was just like, every time we left the hotel, I was like, what is wrong with these people? Like they don't slow down for anything. You're in the parking lots of the hotels and a lot of them don't have like the mirrory do thing where you can like see people coming. No, but people just driving 60 miles an hour in a parking lot. I'm like, dude, like pay attention. And then you're about to turn right out of the parking lot and there comes a random SUV just going 100 miles an hour. And I'm just like, what in the world? So I thought, okay, it's Vegas people. It's bad out here lately too. I'm like, what is going on? People driving stupid. We went to Ham Bones a few weeks ago. My mom she's like, I'm gonna just move out of people's way. I'm like, I feel you. I'm not trying to be in your way, but you're driving ridiculously. Like people sliding over 4 lanes to go right. And I'm just like, what is happening? I'm a prepared driver. When I know I'm going to go left or right, I make sure I'm in the lane closest to it as soon as I can and as soon as it's safe so that I can make the turns I need to make. If I miss my turn, okay, I might be irritated, but I'll come back around to it or find a different way. #GPS. So
yeah. No, I swear
I'm never that much in a hurry for anything.
I keep saying like people went feral last year. Like we lost our ability to like be part of society. Like people just don't know how to do it anymore. And I think it's driving too. People drive crazy. I actually had to commute for the first time, like a lengthy commute for the first time this last week. I had campus visits with one of our high school campuses. And I was there last week on Thursday. And then I was there again. Excuse me. I was there again on Monday driving out to Corona and I was like, holy cow, I have not driven in traffic in so long. I was exhausted. I was like,
it's way different.
I don't know how to do this.
It's way different. Traffic is like, you're exhausted. Like I hadn't driven in a very long time before I drove to Vegas. So imagine not driving and then you drive to Vegas. Too. But it wasn't so terrible coming from my sister's house because we left from San Bernardino. So it took us we left at like 9:30 because I'm a planner as much as I can be. If you say we're going to get on the road at 9:30, I want to be on the road at 9:30. But of course, things happen. Yep. So we made it around considering that my nephew had been up since like 4 o'clock that morning, like ready to go. And the only reason I didn't get up until like a few hours later is because his mother like begged him not to come wake me up because I came over, he was in bed. So he didn't even know I was there until the morning. So he was like, can I go in there now? Can I go? So eventually around 7, girl, I don't know what he was talking about. It was some toy happening. I'm half asleep. Anybody that knows me, it takes me a minute, not just because of fibromyalgia, but it takes me a minute to get it together in the morning. And he was like, Auntie, so blah, blah, blah. And he speaks very clear and very eloquent and very, educated sounding for a 7-year-old. And he's just like, yeah, so what you have to look at is something. I don't know what we were talking about. No clue. None whatsoever. So I finally was just like, Joy, get up. Just get up. You'll get coffee on the road.
That's funny.
And so my sister, I was like, you ready to go? So we get, so traffic going there wasn't terrible. It was the traffic coming home. And we drove to my house in LA. And that Victorville, Riverside, that whole, it said a 25-minute like slowdown. It was more like a good 40-minute slowdown. I wish I had like a transformer car where I could have just like pushed a button and then like gotten above everybody and just drove over everyone because I was like, this is driving me crazy. Do that. Thankfully, we were listening to musicals because that's my happy place. And worship wasn't going to get it in that moment. I needed to like belt out Wicked. And that's pretty much what happened. And then my nephew was like, can you play some song? And it was from like the Book of Mormon. So then we started playing songs from the Book of Mormon. I've never seen the Book of Mormon. It's some interesting songs on the Book of Mormon. That's all I'm going to say about that.
The one that made me cry laughing the first time I heard it was the one where she sang Salt Lake City. It's the girl singing about Salt Lake City, but it's Salt to Clay City or something like that. And the first time I heard it, I was like, oh my gosh, it's so wrong. But it's hysterical.
If you've never seen or heard of Book of Mormon, it is not a musical to go to or listen to based on understanding the Mormon religion.
No.
It is very satirical.
It's written by Trey Parker and Matt Stone, the guys from South Park. So just take that for what it's worth.
So take that for what it's worth. And so my introduction, so the song he wanted to really hear was some song about, it was Josh Gad and the other guy, and they were singing about like how they were going to go help these people in mission work.
Yeah.
But the guy was like, we're going to go, but it's mainly me.
Yes. Yeah.
Like, you're going to be my friend. You're going to support me. You're going to be there with me, but it's mainly me. And I was like, oh, you're a little selfish. And then the next song after that was some song, and they were in Africa on their mission work. Girl, my sister was like, did they just say? So we turned some things off because she's Googling lyrics because we're thinking we're hearing things wrong. Because I'm driving and I'm like, did they just say, okay. So yeah, it's a funny part. The parts I've heard so far, it's funny, but it's if you're easily offended,
don't listen.
And if you don't listen, and if you're a Mormon, definitely don't listen.
Right. Yeah.
Just don't.
I've heard a few of the songs, and usually when I'm listening to the Broadway channel on XM and I'm driving and they pop in, and like I'm like, okay, I'll listen to it. But there are a couple that are like, if you have an awareness and an understanding of satire and like
go for it.
Yeah, if you're okay with satire and you know that things are meant to be, you understand the purpose of satire, then it's an okay. You understand what's happening, particularly on that one song that I mentioned, which is ridiculous but it's so. And it's not, to me, it's not satirical to. It's definitely roasting LDS. Like it's
it's definitely, there's no way to like go around it. It's literally poking fun at the Mormon religion. So
yeah, I mean, well, if you think it's once you consider that it's the South Park guys, you're like, okay, yeah, makes sense.
Which I did not know that until after it, because I kept listening to some of the songs and I heard, mind you, I didn't say Josh Gad. I was like, oh, it sounds like Olaf.
Yes, that's actually where he got his like big break, was Book of Mormon.
Was the Book of Mormon. So I was like, it's Olaf. And my sister is like, oh, he does kind of sound like Olaf. I was like, no, bro, that's definitely like Olaf, because I know Josh Gad's voice because I love him. And my favorite line from Frozen is "in summer." Like, it's just, I do it all the time. Drives my family crazy, but I think
it's hilarious.
It's so funny. And he's hilarious. He's funny in Beauty and the Beast. So if you've never seen the actual person that plays Olaf, but if you've seen Beauty and the Beast, the movie, he plays Gaston's like little homeboy.
Because those creatures are creepy, and I refuse to watch that animation. I can't.
So you haven't seen
Beauty and the Beast is my favorite Disney.
I know. So that's why I didn't know you hadn't seen it.
I categorically refuse because the animation style on Mrs. Potts and Lumiere and Cogsworth and all those guys,
they were a little creepy,
are terrifying.
And they were.
Don't come at me, but Emma Watson as Belle, I don't enjoy.
So I had an issue with that when they announced it. Honestly, I had an issue with that because I was like, I literally in my head picked like 19 people who could have been.
Yeah, because to me, you have to be a singer.
To me, you definitely. I mean, she was okay. I will say that.
Don't defend.
But then you have the whole thing, like you have the Little Mermaid coming out, and Ariel is being played by an African American girl.
Yeah, fine, great.
Which a lot of people were like, well, they had issue with that. So, but it's not about with the Emma Watson thing. It wasn't about anything culturally. It was just that I don't think she looked like the character of Belle. And I guess people could say the same thing about Ariel, but also again the vocals. Whereas the girl who's going to be playing Ariel can actually sing.
Oh, she's got a great voice. Yeah, I
think one of my biggest issues with Beauty and the Beast, other than that, was you had Audra Mcdonald playing a wardrobe,
which,
like out of all the things,
although to be fair. To be
She
fair, this is a deep cut. Madame de la Grande Boucher, which is her name. And yeah, I'm one of those people. Yes. But to be fair, she's supposed to be an opera singer. Right? Like that's who she was, and then she became the so like at least on that, I mean, I haven't seen it, so I don't know if Audra got to sing any. Because
not a lot.
Yeah.
Which that's my issue. She was doing her whole opera thing in the beginning before she turned into the wardrobe. And then she turned into the wardrobe. She talked a little bit in the movie. I'm trying to remember. I've seen it a couple times, but like I'm trying to remember. It wasn't to the point of where it's like Audra Mcdonald. Like you don't get the fullness. And those of you who are like, what are they talking about and who is she? Audra Mcdonald is probably one of my favorite musical theater,
she's amazing.
Broadway singers. She's an actress. She's on the series on Paramount app called.
Wasn't she on Private?
The Good. So
the Good Wife spinoff, whatever the
Good Wife spinoff. She's on that. She was on Private Practice, and she was also on something else recently. She's going to be in the Aretha Franklin movie coming up. She's going to be playing either Aretha Franklin's mom or she's playing her grandmother. One of the two.
I'm mad that she's playing grandmother roles now, but carry on.
You know, but I mean, she don't look like old. And his mom, because I watched the Cynthia Erivo version of the Aretha Franklin story. The person that played the mom was Denzel Washington's wife, Paulette Washington. She, honestly, the grandma's character, like, aged backwards the whole movie. Like, she looked older when the kids was little and younger when they got older, but that's all another character issue.
Toddlers make you ancient.
But she did a really good job. What is going to be interesting about, and I know we have gone past a whole lot of stuff in this conversation, but what's going to be interesting is to compare the Jennifer Hudson one to the Cynthia Erivo one. Now, Jennifer Hudson's version was actually approved by Aretha Franklin, and Aretha Franklin asked for Jennifer Hudson to play her before she died.
Which, I mean, if you're going to have
we were actually already working on it before she passed. But in all fairness, Cynthia Erivo, as much as I'm not a huge fan of hers, but that's for not political reasons, but for, I'll pause and insert this here. Something she said about African Americans versus non-people who are culturally African that are not American. So basically, like, American Black people and non-American Black people. And when she was playing Harriet Tubman, which I still have not seen because of this reason, is she was like, she joked saying like she had to learn how to speak ghetto or something in order to play the role, and like mocked it or something. And that pissed me off in a way. So I had some issues because when I first heard Cynthia Erivo, I was like,
yeah, she got
it was the Tony Awards. It was the first time I heard her. It was the Tony Awards, and it was the In Memoriam segment, and she was killing. I'm like, who is this chick? So I looked into her. I saw what show she was in. So I listened to some soundtrack. I mean, she's amazing. But then that's happened, and I was like, whatever, girl. And then she did the Aretha Franklin thing, and I'm gonna give her props. Like, though it wasn't sanctioned by the family, though there were issues, and that's their drama, she killed it. She studied that lady. She had her down pat. Like, now the fat suit they had her in towards the end, not so good for those of you who have seen it. That was wrong. Like, I mean, yes, she was a larger woman towards the end of her life, but the fat suit looked terrible. Like, there's a way to like do it without looking like Oompa Loompa. I don't know how to say it. I was trying to find a way, but she did really good vocally and everything. So Audra Mcdonald, going back to her, she's the person that made me believe I could do musical theater.
She's amazing.
And she's amazing. She and Bernadette Peters are probably my top two vocalists in that field because they can sing literally anything from, especially Audra, from opera to anything. She's amazing. Ragtime. Oh. If you've listened to the soundtrack of Ragtime, and I've seen her in Ragtime, it is
so good.
So good. Like,
ridiculous.
I was ready to quit being a musical theater major in high school, and then I had to do a report on a musical, and my uncle took me to see Ragtime, and she was the lead, and I got to see her in her last LA performance, and I was just like, I'm sold. I can do this. Like, she's amazing, because I didn't see a lot of representation of in musical theater that I love so much. Especially then in 1997, there was really not a lot of main roles for Black girls and women or whatever, or men. And so Ragtime, it had this storyline where there was all these cultures, but it was so amazing. It was the it thing before Hamilton became the it thing.
Oh yeah.
Because you have Brian Stokes Williams, who is phenomenal, rich tone. Voice.
That dude, if ever I wanted someone to sing me the phone book, if there were phone books, it'd be Brian Stokes.
Oh, definitely him.
That dude is amazing.
It would definitely be him. And it's funny we were talking about music because that's totally not who we actually were just going to talk about the madness of the interwebs, but this goes with it. Don't worry.
It's fine.
Stay with us, guys.
It's a digression.
Stay with us, guys.
The whole thing's a digression.
We digress with Joi and Jess. That is why that's named that. But yeah, he sounds like butter. Oh. Him, and then my other favorite, who is losing his hearing right now, and I pray for him, Tank. He's one of my other favorite male singers of all time, other than Donny Hathaway, who is no longer living. He, to me, was way ahead of his time. And that's not even getting into the gospel artists that I love and worship artists that I love, like Chandler Moore is amazing from Maverick City Worship, like all of that.
Such unique tonality.
Brian Stokes and Tank, like, honestly, they can sing anything, and I'd be like, oh. You know.
Oh man. Yeah, no, the casting on Beauty and the Beast was one of those that I was like, It reminded me of how annoyed I was at the casting for Phantom of the Opera when they cast.
See, and I didn't watch Phantom because I didn't like it either.
Yeah, I think I own it. I'm not sure why, but I think I do. But you know,
that's not the one. I did watch that one. It was Les Mis that I was like,
Oh, Les Mis. First off, so don't come for me, but I hate Les Mis. I hate Les Mis. I've hated every version of Les Mis I've seen. Like, I hate, like, pull out Castle on a Cloud, pull out I Dreamed a Dream, pull out, like, the songs.
There's some songs that I don't mind really the songs. Great.
Don't make me sit through Les Mis. Like, so when I was a sophomore in high school, that was the year that the film version came out, not the musical, just the film version. That was theater.
It's terrible.
And so we went as a class field trip because we were reading it in school, and we went as a class to go see this movie. And I was like, just shoot me now, please. Like, I hated and I love to read. I love reading.
Yeah.
I hated the book. I hated the movie. Like, I don't care. And then
I've never heard you have this much disdain for a musical or a book in my entire existence of knowing you.
And then I was dating a guy for a hot second who big musical theater buff, and he took me to go see the new Cameron McIntosh staging of it. And this was what, 2014, 2015.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, fine, great. I'm like watching it, but I'm just like, shoot me now. I hate Les Mis. I've been dragged into so many versions of it. And then so then the movie comes out, and my brother and sister-in-law have it on DVD, and we're all going to watch it together. And I'm like, okay, all right. For someone who hates Les Mis, I've seen it so many times. And then John fell asleep in it, like, look down, and I hear snoring, and I'm like, oh gosh.
It's nothing better than watching a musical with somebody and they're snoring.
Right.
But I get it. Les Mis is just not. You want to, as a person who loves musicals, to be like, yay, but songs. There are some songs I would definitely pull from it that I do like, and in that 2014 version, and then they tried the whole stage singing thing with it. So basically, a lot of movies, they'll do pre-recording, but most singers, they'll sing on set and to the pre-recording. Well, what they did in Les Mis was they did all the live singing as if it was on stage, but on a sound stage. So
yeah,
it was
and they did
awkward.
So many takes of it. Like, I'm surprised any of those people have voices left. There were so many takes.
Yeah,
they were singing so much. There's actually a really great YouTube documentary on it from a vocal coach's perspective, talking about piecing together all the things that are problematic about that methodology when it comes to film. And I watched it because I was like,
you can tell it's definitely problematic. Back to Cynthia Erivo, when she did it was like a mini series versus a movie. So when she did it, all of her parts, she sang live, she said. But she comes from theater
where there's that background.
And the difference you could probably tell in her performance. Like, she needed that. I don't think she would have accomplished on screen what she really wanted to if she didn't sing it live.
Right. Well, and like, again, don't come for me. I like Hugh Jackman as an actor. I'm not a huge fan of Hugh Jackman's voice. And
I don't mind it, but
it's not. There are other people that I'm like, no, way worse than Hugh Jackman. But, like, yeah. So like, he could handle it because he's used to the rigors of musical theater because he's trained in that way. But you've got Anne Hathaway, who did have some training, but at the same time, like, she's doing all this stuff that's just thrashing her voice. And I'm watching it going, no, like, please stop. Do not want. Yeah. Phantom of the Opera, these, like, the remakes of the movie musicals, I think the only one that I've really liked as far as remakes, and I think it was because I wasn't super tied to the original Broadway version, was Chicago.
Chicago was good.
Chicago was good, although Renee Zellweger was okay. But I mean, other than
I've seen like 4 other people play that part and like killed it, including Michelle Williams from Destiny's Child, who I don't necessarily like her voice like that. Please don't come for me, and if you do, I will give you all the facts in the world. But though she sounded amazing on The Masked Singer, I don't know if because you couldn't see her, but I knew it was her from the clues.
Right.
But she sounded amazing. But she did a really good job in the parts. I haven't seen the full version of her playing Roxy, but I've seen her do performances on events and whatever. She did a really great job playing Roxy.
Yeah. I think that is probably my favorite adaptation of a Broadway show.
Into the Woods wasn't bad.
Yeah, Into the Woods was pretty okay. I didn't have any major problems with it, actually.
But I'm also very, very, very stuck on the Bernadette Peters.
Oh, yeah. No, I mean, it doesn't come
when
close.
I was in high school, we watched the actual.
Yes.
We watched it on film, but we watched the actual stage production on film.
It was because you could get it on DVD for a while.
Yeah. After you've done that, then no. And then I was in Into the Woods when I was in high school. So I was like, so the movie was good. I love Into the Woods. It's one of my favorite shows. Great. It's annoying if you don't like the show. Like if if you like musicals, but you don't like continuous singing in musicals, like you want more dialogue, then don't watch it.
Well, and I have a love-hate relationship with Sondheim anyway. Like, I love some of Sondheim's stuff. Actually, the 2009 version of Company that was on PBS with Raul Esparza. That is an interesting staging to me, but I mean, it's one of those things. But like, I love Sondheim, and then sometimes Sondheim annoys me. Like I guess I have limits on Sondheim. So like, and then I also like, I'm not a huge Tim Burton fan, so I've never seen Sweeney Todd.
So I have seen Sweeney Todd.
Yeah.
With Angela Lansbury.
Okay, see, you got to watch it with Angela Lansbury because she's the OG.
Yeah, I watched it, and again, it was a stage production on film at the time, and it was good. I don't like Tim Burton. I don't like creepy stuff, but I actually like Sweeney Todd, but I've only seen the Angela Lansbury version.
Well, and to be fair, I think if anybody's going to do that particular show as an adaptation, Tim Burton's the guy to do it, because that show is a little sketch, you know.
Dark.
Yeah, dark. That's what I mean. Like, it's a little
extremely dark.
Anytime you got a demon barber of Fleet Street.
Right. I was going to say, for those of you who have no clue what any of this is, but Sweeney Todd, it's Sweeney Todd, the demon barber of Fleet Street. He'd basically give people shaves and haircuts, and then he'd slice their throats, and then he'd push a lever, and then their heads go down to the bake shop downstairs, and then
Mrs. Lovett would turn them into pie.
Take the heads and whatnot to make the meat pies in some odd part of London.
Pies in London.
You know, you're eating people. That's what Sweeney Todd's about. And yes, I watched it in 10th grade. Yeah, it was creepy, but you know.
Try a Little Priest is maybe one of the most inventive songs in musical theater. Yes. Like, I'm here for it. Like,
although I love Avenge the Jealous Sweeney Todd. It's a very catchy song, but it's extremely dark.
That's the thing. Like, Sondheim is one of those where all of his lyrics are really, really catchy and the songs are really catchy. But as you start to listen to more Sondheim, you're like, oh, this is Sondheim, because this Sondheim sounds exactly like that other one. Like, they all just sound exactly the same. And you're like,
I guess I can give you that. You're
like,
right.
But honestly, that's a phenomenon that I have noticed with musicians in general. Like, a particular artist has a particular sound, and unless they are co-writing with somebody else, all of their stuff is going to sound the same. And I think that's true for every musician. Everything I do sounds the same. Everything you do is going to eventually sound derivative of that, because that's our sound. That's the thing that resonates. Yeah. And so I think with Sondheim, you see that. What's interesting is when you see Sondheim working on like West Side Story, right? And then you see Lin-Manuel Miranda coming in on the remake of West Side Story a few years ago and adding some of the Spanish language translations and kind of doing that. It's really interesting to see those pieces kind of evolve over time and go, okay, how did it sound originally? How does it sound? What each iteration of it does, you know? So that's always fascinating to me.
West Side Story is actually, and it's so funny because that was one of the things I got into musical theater actually because of my mother not making me, like, we would watch musicals most Saturday mornings, like Carousel, Oklahoma, different things like that, Bye Bye Birdie. And it was funny because we were watching Bye Bye Birdie the other night, and The Music Man came on after that. And my mom's like, I don't think I've ever watched the whole thing of The Music Man. And I was like, what? I know like every word. So then I happened to mention that you and I on occasion would sing Goodnight My Someone, you know, before we would go to bed, sometimes after prayer or something, whatever, we would do our thing and we would sing it. And it would be in jest at times and sometimes not so much. We were generally like, God, please get us somebody. Divas, yeah. But my mom was like, okay, I did not know you were that much of a nerd. Like, I was like, don't come for me right now.
First off, where have you been? Second
First off, right. She was like, no, I knew you were a nerd. I knew you did the theater thing. And she loves musicals too. Like, my mom loves musicals, but I guess I take it a little further than most. So that was interesting. Nothing wrong. But that was my childhood growing up. I watched those things. I did those things. So I started. And then my uncles and my mom, they would take me to shows all the time. I mean, like I said, I saw Ragtime in the theater. I saw Aida, which is one of my other favorite shows. I mean, I can sing that soundtrack back and forth and all of those. And Wicked, and of course Hamilton, and I haven't watched In the Heights yet, and I'm upset with myself because I haven't, but I was gonna go see it in the theater, and then I was like, and then I was gonna go with my brand ambassador. Her daughter actually wanted me to go with them to watch it, but that was the week I had the bad cold, and I was like, I probably should not go out in public like this, and so I haven't seen In the Heights yet, and I am a huge Lin-Manuel Miranda fan because he's very creative. And West Side Story is just one of those things I can't wait until to see it again. One, because Rita Moreno is going to be in the movie version again. Yes, of course, not playing her original role that she got a Oscar for. Right. But she's going to be in the new adaptation, the movie adaptation, with I forgot who else was going to be in it. Now, I don't remember who's going to play Maria. I can't remember. Mm-hmm. I just heard Rita Moreno and I got excited. Like, that's all I'm here. I'm here for it. Like, I'm totally here for that. Right. But the original, I always get offended when people say, like, West Side Story is really not that great of a musical. First of all, watch your tongue. I'm just kidding. You can totally have your own opinion. I just like the songs. And I mean, as far as like the acting and the whole like gang situation, I mean, gangs don't dance. Like, we know gangs don't dance it out. Now, if they did, that would be a very progressive way to end battles. But they do not dance. And the Jets were, special. And the Sharks were, these names weren't the greatest. But, and then you also had, of course, back in that time, you didn't have a lot of Hispanic actors that were working. So Maria was not Hispanic. She was Natalie Wood, and who I also thought was a wonderful actress. I've seen her in Imitation of Life and all these other things. Like, she's different movies I've seen her in growing up. Miracle on 34th Street as a little girl. Like I said, I grew up watching a lot of old movies. Like Holiday Inn was one of my favorites. I'm naming stuff probably listeners are like the what and the who and the how. Oh, yeah. Holiday Inn. I like Holiday Inn more than I like White Christmas, honestly. And it's just, but it's my thing. And I love that Rose.
Is more like holistic. I feel like White Christmas is.
Yes, it's White Christmas it's White Christmas. It's classic. It's gonna forever be. I did find out though that they took a scene or so out of Holiday Inn for racial equality, and it's okay. Well, although I did used to like that part that they took out, but I understand why they took it out. But it's such a good movie if you like Fred Astaire, Ginger Rogers. I mean, you had like the classic thing. So you learn a lot about me by knowing that's the type of childhood I had. So
it's funny, and this has nothing to do with the movie. It has everything to do with the fact that this is my most hated Shakespeare play. I do not like West Side Story only because I hate the story of Romeo and Juliet.
A lot of people hate Romeo and Juliet.
Romeo and Juliet
I don't hate it, but it's
just the story of stupid 15-year-olds that don't listen to their parents and everybody get upset and everybody dead afterwards. And it could have been avoided if y'all just listened to your parents and stopped being dramatic.
Yeah. I've seen probably every version of Romeo and Juliet that could ever have been. I've read it. Othello. I do like Othello, although I was really mad at Lawrence Fishburne still from What's Love Got to Do with It, that I really didn't like him in Othello, but that was only because of that. Like, I was young. Right. I was still like low-key a kid. It was like, he's scary. He beat Angela Bassett and I will never like him again. Like, it took me so long.
That's how good of an actor he was.
It took me a long time to watch anything with Lawrence Fishburne. My mom's like, but you like Othello. I don't want to see him in Othello.
Have you ever seen the 90s version, I think it's the 90s version, the Kenneth Branagh version of Much Ado About Nothing with Keanu Reeves?
Yes, I have.
That one is like, I love it because it's so random. Like, I
love
it
so
much,
little random.
But it's got Michael Keaton as the constable. Like, it's just like, Denzel Washington's in it. Like
the
there's
one I haven't,
a good cast, but
there's a very good cast in that, and I did see that. I've only seen it once though.
It's so random.
And then the other one I didn't really like was Midsummer's Night Dream. Now I've seen the play done. I liked it. The movie, I was like, kind of some weird things happening, though there's weird things happening in the actual story.
Yeah.
So I was like, you know, I want to see some of my favorite books become plays or shows. Like there was a book I read in 3rd grade that I still remember. One of the reasons I love cooking so much, shout out to Mr. Huffman, my 3rd grade teacher, Stregonona. I don't know if you ever heard of that book, but it's a book about this Italian grandmother who teaches her grandkid like the secrets of life through cooking and pasta. Like it's so cool. And then you have like Water for Chocolate. It's another favorite book of mine.
Did they not make that into a movie? I feel
they did, but it wasn't great. I would like to see it now. It wasn't great. Chocolat was better than like Water for Chocolate, and Chocolat had nothing to do with that, but it was so good. Johnny Depp is a good movie. You watch it if you want to. But I think like some of those books, like I would even love to make a like play adaptation of the Yada Yada Prayer Group. I know we talked about this a few episodes in this first season. It's a book that I loved as a teen. I loved as an adult. It's a book series, not just a book, and it's quite interesting. I kind of have an idea in my brain that's not exactly them, but them based on something we talked about forever ago, but I got to finish this book first. So there's that.
One book at a time.
I work on it soon. One book at a time. And it's funny because my mom also gave me a kid's book to work on idea, but it's actually a good idea. And I actually outlined it, but I'm going to work on it a little bit. The Adventures of TT and Amora, because I always have fun with my little baby girl. So I love her.
I love it.
Little 3-year-old niece that you will always hear me talk about. I talk about all my babies, but honey, she had me cracking up. So her mom preached on Sunday, right? And so I was in charge of keeping the child occupied because she's 3 and we like where my mama at. So I brought extra snacks. I brought crayons. I brought coloring pages. I did all this stuff because her big brother, the 12-year-old, he helps run sound and all those things. So he was busy. He was doing things. And we were having technical difficulties on Sunday again. So he was dealing with that. And then her other brother, Adonis, he's just like, they have cupcakes after church for my grandpa's birthday. I'm just waiting for that. Like, I don't really care what else happens in between. Whatever. So he was easy, you know. She had me tickled. So she did 4 pictures. She had me write down whose name the pictures were for. She did one for Poppy, which is what she calls her grandpa. She did one for Mommy. She did one for Don Don. I said, well, are you going to give one to Andrew or Andu, as she calls him? And she's like, no, that one's for Amora. I said, well, you're Amora. And she was like, okay, it can be for Andu. And I was like, why do you and your brother have beef? Like, what's going on? He's 12 years old.
Not on the approved list.
No, it's so her mom, I was telling her mom this story, and she's like, yeah, that sounds about right. So then you saw my Facebook, I put the whole conversation, like they get into this like full-on argument about whose auntie I am. And I'm like, I'm everybody's auntie. Like, he's like, that's my auntie. She said, no, that's my auntie Joy. He said, no, that's my auntie Joy. And she was like, no, Andrew, that's my auntie Joy. And I was like, hey, I'm everybody's auntie Joy. It's fine. And so Adonis, he's just kind of like, yeah, whatever. I don't really care. He's just ignoring us all.
He's like, I don't have time for this.
But she tickles me to the core, and she's so funny. And she's also very articulate, and she has an extremely high-pitched voice like her mother, but her mother at her age also had a very high-pitched voice. I've told you that before. So it's just really funny. I heard the Sunday, but I spent that to potty breaks and all of that. And so there's a video on TikTok that I posted that it's her running, like shooting off to the bathroom. And a lady in my church, every time we passed her, she'd whisper to me, she's a runner, she's a track star. So I put that track on the video because I'm like, this girl keeps jetting off. Mind you guys, I'm still using a cane to walk because of my knee injury. This girl has zoomed off. And I'm like, I'm more to come back. And I'm trying not to be loud because church is going on. Her mother is preaching. And I'm like, okay. And then she's looking like, where are you? Come on. So
let's go.
Yeah. So one thing at a time.
Right.
That's been a project this week because I went back to chapter 1 to get some grammatical things together that I'm looking like, why did I do that in the first place? Like, where's the comma? Where's the period? Where's the capital? Like, Joy, what's going on? You're better than this. But I also had some very teary moments rereading and editing this week, and not in a like I'm sad I went through a few of these things and I'm only in like chapter 5, but I'm like, I went through these things and I did these things, and okay, God, like I see what's happening now. And so I think I'm more excited again to get this done. And it's not a chore to get done. And I'm even happier because someone has agreed to edit the book for me. Woohoo! Shout out to the best business partner in the world. So because let me explain why this is a thing. I'm gonna tell you guys, and I didn't exactly tell her this way either. Literally a year ago, the Lord told me to ask her. And I was like, no, I literally asked too much of her. I can't. She does literally all of the beauty flawed stuff with the computer situations. She edits our show. She has her own life, a husband and her stuff and our stuff. Like I can't like ask her. And I was working on, I created a journal on Canva. And so that should be happening soon. I'll let you guys know. It's just a journal, has a few affirmations, like 6 affirmations in it, 73 pages. There's blank pages and stuff like that. Just as a few writing prompts, just to like remind you like, hey, I am this person and I can go for it. But I digress. So I'm working on this and we come up with a plan of publishing that makes more sense than the other route that I was going to go. And God just reminded me again, like, you need to ask Jessica to edit the book. And I was like, I can't ask her. Like, this is literally the conversation that I'm having with God. Like, I can't ask her. And I'm like stuffing it down inside for days. And then finally go, okay, I'm gonna ask her. It still took a couple days for me to ask her, you guys. Like, I just asked her like a day ago, like for real. And I was like, okay, I'm gonna ask her, but I was scared. I was as scared to ask her this as I was to tell her that I had lost my virginity when I was 20 something. Like it was literally, I was that.
Lord.
For those of you who are not watching, Jessica just had a full-on laughter fit. I was, and I don't know why. And it's not like I was like, she's gonna be like rude about it, but she's gonna tell me no, and I'm gonna be okay. I was prepared for the no, but I was like, I gotta ask. So
first off, you know I don't say no. That's part of my problem. Second of all, crazy.
The thing is, so she gave me a book about publishing and how to self-publish and some things like that. And I had also been reading some other things, and one of the things was the person who edits, sometimes it's better to go with someone who knows your voice. So when they're editing or fixing things or helping you, they're still keeping the truth and the sound of who you are. And I was like, there's nobody better to do that can edit a book and sound like me than Jessica. And so she said yes. So we're on our way, guys. It's coming. And I know I've been saying that for like 2 years now, but let me tell you, life has had some moments and it's not all life. I did some things to myself that stagnated the hold of the book, but it's full on ahead. Like I've literally every day this week, almost all day, in between other things that I had to do, that's all I've been working on and ready to send it out to her. And I've put comments in like the section of where it says in Word, where you can put comments like, hey, I think this can actually move there. If you want to move that, that's fine. So yeah, I'm excited.
It'll be good. We're going to get it out. We're going to get this going.
We are. That's the important, like, that's the point. Like when God gives you something to do, and I think this is actually in the book somewhere. When God gives you something to do, you can't look at it just as an assignment, but looking at it as an assignment is important too, because it's to get it done. But when you look at an assignment in a panic mode where like, oh, I have to get it done, that's two different getting it done. So it's getting it done to get it over with and getting it done to do what you're asked of that to do. And I've had both in this situation. And so I still think some days like, who wants to read a book about me in my life? But I appreciate it if you do. Learn from my craziness and mistakes. Trust me, there's a lot of them in there. And then I'm like, am I being too transparent? And I'm like, no, I mean, we're transparent on the podcast. I talk about all kinds of stuff. So get it out there. It's not like the internet hasn't heard my shenanigans anyway.
Shenanigans.
Not all
shenanigans.
Of them, but yes. Speaking of internet shenanigans.
The perils and the pitfalls of TikTok.
First of all, I still blame you and Jen for involving me.
I accept that blame.
And I end up on some very odd things. So the first thing I want to bring up, because I actually sent this one to Jessica, like, what do you think about this? And though I'm not married, nor in a relationship with anyone right now, I think the way I think about it could be a little different. So the first one I'm going to bring up, I'm not going to bring the other one up first. I'm going to bring this one up and ease into it. So there's this podcaster that is also on TikTok. So she and her co-host, they read Reddit stories and discuss it on their podcast. So this particular story was this guy who won the lottery. And it was a very significant amount of money. He didn't say how much he won. And basically, so the header of the story was, I want to give my ex-wife pretty much all my money, but my girlfriend is pissed off at me about it, basically. So long story short, he and the ex-wife have been divorced for 6 years. They have 2 kids, I think. And he cheated on her with his now girlfriend. There's so many layers to this. So he cheated on her with his now girlfriend, right? He won the lottery. He jokingly said to the wife, if I win the lottery, the ex-wife, if I win the lottery and I gave you this much money, what would you do? She's like, I would quit my job. I would start my business. It would be better for me and the kids, whatever. But she was kidding. And so he basically was like, when he did win, he thought about it, and he thought about the sacrifices that she made because of his actions. Whereas she's working several jobs to make ends meet. He hasn't been, though he's been trying to be a good co-parent, he knows that he broke her and he hurt her from what he did because he himself was in a low place when he cheated. And granted, I understand that, but no excuse when you're cheating in a marriage. I already know I have issues with cheaters, but read the book, it'll explain more. But anyway, so so he's talking, he's thinking like, this is the mother of my children. We do now have a good relationship. Though I never saw her cry. No, I never saw her fall apart. I know what I did caused a chain reaction of just some bad stuff in her life. And I want to do what's best for my kids and for her in this situation. And he's like, she didn't have to let me keep seeing my kids. She didn't have to let certain things go on. She didn't have to even co-parent with me as well as she does. So he wants to give her, I don't think the whole thing, but a very large, significant amount of the money. But his girlfriend is very pissed and very angry about it and is threatening to leave him. Now, the funny thing about that is he low-key was like, I'm okay with the threats. Like, he's like, he got in the relationship because of convenience and because of his mistake. And he's been in that mistake for 6 years. So I sent this to Jess because I'm like, this is interesting. And she's like, yeah, it's very interesting. So I don't know her thoughts yet on this situation. My thought is this. I am a child of divorce whose parent worked her butt off. And I say this all the time. It doesn't matter if you are a single parent of one or a single parent of multiple. Being a single parent is hard.
So hard.
Being a parent with a partner is hard. Mm-hmm. So being a single parent with an absentee father, because though my father and I are cool now, there were some large chunks of absenteeism and lots of child support that was not being paid. So that's my perspective. My perspective is this. She is your ex-wife. Those are your children. It's not that you're necessarily giving her the money. You're giving it to your family to give them a better life, period. That's how I feel about it. And then I also feel like you obviously don't really love this girlfriend or want to be with this girlfriend if you're cool with her threatening to leave if you actually give the money to your ex. That's Joy's opinion. What's Jess's?
Almost identical. I think it would be one thing, I think, if there weren't kids involved, but especially because there are kids involved, I think it's totally appropriate for him to give. He can't give those kids money. I mean, obviously, I would say, hey, you should set up a, something for them for the future, trust fund or something for them for the future.
Yeah,
to set them up. But also, like, if he's not the custodial parent, the mom is. So you're going to do what you need to do to take care of your kids now and in the future. And if your girlfriend has a problem with that because it's attached to the woman, she's insecure, and apparently rightfully so, because if he hasn't wifed it in 6 years, he's not going to wife it.
Right.
Yeah.
And girls who are with the dude who they cheated with,
never trust him.
And this doesn't always happen, but he could cheat on you too. And she probably is thinking that he's still in love with his ex-wife, and he could possibly be, because honestly, he regrets doing what he did. I caught from when you listen to the story, like I totally caught the fact that he's still in love with her in some way, but he's been with this situation. Well, cut the situation off, dude. Just go to counseling and possibly, and because I've seen that happen, where they cheated, they were with their whatever, and some people can take them back. There are people who can't deal with the fact that you cheated and they just cut you off. But go ahead.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think it always fascinates me why people stay in bad relationships or relationships that they know. And the guy that I dated before John I met him on eHarmony, just like I met John, but he was really good on paper. He had his master's degree, or he was getting his master's degree. He was a school teacher. He was big into musical theater. He was a musician. He was a Christian. He was all these things that were like really great on paper. And in practice, it was not a good fit. It was not good. And there were a lot of issues that we had. And I knew it from the get-go. I knew when I got into it. And I had said, Lord, I don't want to look your gift horse in the mouth, so to speak. If this is the guy that you've given me, I'm going to stick to it. And I think the reason I was afraid to break it up with him was because I thought this is as good as I'm going to get it. I don't want to go through the whole thing again. This is going to be the worst. And I think people are so afraid of being alone, like with the idea of forever alone being like the worst thing ever. And I mean, there's a whole side of it that I'll talk about, I could talk about and monologue about for the church side of that and how we treat single people and the theology of singleness that we don't.
That could be that's a whole other conversation.
But I think that people stay in bad relationships for stupid reasons because they're not thinking long term. They're thinking of what's easy and expedient instead of choosing somebody based on character and quality. If this woman is having such a problem with him giving money to the mother of his children and by default to his children, is that the kind of woman that you really want to be with? Like if you have someone who is not going to love your kids the way that you love your kids, why?
That's a big thing. And I've seen it backfire on single parents a lot too. Just even being a teacher, I've seen the mom with the guy who stepped in when the dad wasn't around, but then the stepped in dude wasn't really the greatest either. Or I've seen it or the stepped-in guy becomes better than the dude who left. And that's amazing. But every situation isn't like that. And women in general, men sometimes are very blinded by women because we make things look good sometimes. And when we're really not really great women or people, we still make it look like that. We can make it look like we like your kid and we don't really like your kid. Now, genuinely, I'm going to tell you if your kid is bad and why I may not like behavior, but I will always love a child, period.
Right.
Because behavior comes from an issue. There's a root issue, and that's when you get to it. And we can talk about that on another day. That's definitely a subject for another day. But women, I've seen women manipulate and pretend to like kids, pretend to be a certain way. And then when they got what they wanted, their true colors came out. And then I've seen the fathers pick their wives over their children or girlfriends over their children. And that's not okay. In this instance, the man to me is doing the right thing. He's not putting his girlfriend over his children. And he's seeing probably more than what he's already seen, that she isn't the one. Like, if you really have this much of an issue for him being a provider, if I see someone I'm dating who has children, an ex-wife, an ex-girlfriend, whatever, baby mama, whatever the situation is, if he's providing for them, not just the kids, because providing for them helps out the mom. So you're providing for all of them, period. I can't be mad at that. I should be overjoyed and excited that this person is a provider. And if he's taking care of them, he's going to take care of me.
Right. Well, it's
at least that's the way I think about it.
It's the same thing as like, you see the stories all the time where guys are like, well, I don't want to pay my child support because she's just going to go out and spend it on rent. Well, yeah, that puts a roof over your kids' heads, and there needs to be an adult there. So it's her rent too. Like, you know, we are so vindictive, right? Mm-hmm. When something goes sour, instead of being grown-ups about it and thinking rationally, we let our emotions dictate who we are. I get it. Yeah. There is no sense of hurt that cuts quite as deep as the betrayal of someone who is close. I mean, and friendly fire, people who are supposed to love you when they turn on you, that is a hell like you cannot believe. That being said,
no, yeah, for sure.
Like, we have to at some point be adults and we have to do the adult
You've literally made your bed, now you need to lie in it.
Exactly. Like, have some self-control. You can be angry all you want in private, like get in your car by yourself and drive and scream and yell whatever you want to do, like go someplace in the desert and like yell it out if you need to. Mm-hmm. But it's like, we have to stop this idea of, well, I have a right to be angry. No, you don't. You can be angry. Don't be dumb, right? You don't have a right to act a fool, especially if there are kids involved. And it's,
come on.
So many people make short-term decisions when they should be thinking in the long term.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think if you can begin to think linearly, people who think linearly, like cause and effect, like if I do this, then this is going to happen, then this is going to happen, and who have that ability to kind of map out the cause and effect of actions, right? Mm-hmm. People who can do that, I think, do better at life in general. And, because people never consider the consequences of their actions, and then they wonder why their lives are messed up.
Oh, absolutely. It's like co-parenting has become more common.
Yeah.
When I was younger, you saw blended families. They started coming up a little bit more around the time my parents got divorced. More so in high school, I saw more blended families than I saw when I was in like elementary, middle school. And then I was in my own blended family. My father got remarried. He and my stepmom been together for 23 years, I think. And so, he eventually had a brother and a sister. I'm like, whoa, where'd that come from? Like, there's people living with us. That's weird. That's another story for another day. But I see more co-parenting now. And I say it as co-parenting because there are some people who don't do a good job. And then I've seen some really great examples of that. And right after I saw this story and sent that to you, there's some TikTok, I guess there's some TLC show called Me and My Ex and His Ex or something like that. So basically it's a show about, there's like a couple who got divorced, and then now they're remarried, but all four of them co-parent and take care of the children. And the wives are actually really good friends or whatever. I don't think the dads are as close as the wives are, but the wives are like super, super good friends. And so, and I'm seeing more situations very similar. I saw another TikTok, I think, where it was, my hair was blowing and I didn't know which way it was going. Sorry. It was like a little girl. It was a picture, and it was like, my daughter, my ex, our daughter, my husband, his new wife, their child. And it was like his new wife was holding her daughter. That wasn't even his. And it was a beautiful, and it was like co-parenting at its best. So I've seen those positive things, and that situation actually reminded me of that. But then also in that same day, I saw a young lady and my heart broke for her. I wish I could have reached out to her just to tell her that someone's here supporting her. Her daughter, I think she said, is 6 now. She was with the guy who she got pregnant by. She got pregnant. He left. He wanted nothing to do with her until he got remarried. And then he and his wife filed for custody. So then they have this plan of custody that they're supposed to have. So he promised to take the daughter on a camping trip. And she was so excited. Then she got the sniffles or something, and she couldn't go. And he was like, I'm not going to take her camping. And she got the sniffles. So the mom was like, well, just be with her. The whole point is she wants to be with you. Just be with her. And he was like, well, I already paid the down payment on the camping site. I have to still go. So he doesn't take the baby for his weekend. He still goes camping with his wife and their family. And they leave the baby. And the mother was in tears. And she was like, I hate him. I hate him. And so I understand that side too, because I was that little girl at one point. So I totally understand that. And I just wanted to reach out to the mom. And so many people are leaving comments and stuff like, we support you. It's not wrong that you feel that way. Don't let the anger stay inside. Do what's best for your child. This man told her that you never wanted me around anyway. She's like, I told you about every event we had for her, every birthday party, every holiday, and you did not want to come. And then until he gets in a relationship, now this is happening. And it's just unfortunate. So it was interesting that I guess maybe because I saw the TikTok with the Reddit with the whole husband-wife thing, then I started getting a whole bunch of co-parenting posts on my TikTok. But I was just like, that's crazy. It was just crazy, but I don't think it was wrong. The moral of the story, I don't think it's wrong that he wants to give to his wife. Honestly, I think he needs to go seek some counseling because I feel like he still wants to be with his wife. But even if he doesn't and they never get back together, the fact that you want to do for your family and you want to invest in her dream, which will be better for your children, I applaud you.
Right.
Personally, sir.
Seriously, that. How amazing will it be for those kids to know that to watch their mom hustle and work hard and achieve her dreams and be supported by their father, right? To know that they are loved so much by both parents that they will be willing to do this. And if this is, as someone, and I'm going to say this, and I don't mean to be manipulative when I say this, but I will say it as someone who desperately longs to be a mom and cannot be a mom and may never get to be a mom. I need for people to realize that being a parent from the perspective of someone who is not, and who has tried every which way under the sun to become a mom. I understand that the point of parenting is to sacrifice so that your child can be the best version of themselves that they could possibly be.
Right.
And as a Christian, I would say that they can be the best representation of God that they can be. And so the way that we do that is we challenge them, we love them, we encourage them, we correct them, all of those things. And if you are not willing to be selfless for your child, you need to reconsider whether it's appropriate. Like before you have kids, like decide whether you want to have kids. I get it. Stuff happens.
I concur.
But like, that's parenting. And yes, it sucks because you're going to be tired. You're not going to want to do it. You're going to want someone to take care of you, you know, all of those things. And I get it. Like, it sucks sometimes because those little munchkin butts will drain every last ounce of sanity from your hide at the first opportunity they get. Right. But that's the job. And that is a privilege. And it is hard. And I mad props to parents because you guys have the hardest job on the planet.
You do.
I mean,
you definitely do.
You absolutely do. And it is not for the faint of heart. It is not for the weak. It is not for like, that is the hardest thing that everybody will ever do. But you have to be willing to take the hits. And you have to make the decision to bring people into your life who are going to take the hits with you and who are going to love your kids the way that you love your kids. And if you know, now, and I'll be honest, like as kids get older, once they're adults and they're out of the house, then you need to make some serious decisions about, you know, how much you, the tendency I've seen is for single parents to kind of coddle their kids in adulthood. Not everyone, but you know, sometimes you see that. And then they get married and then the marriage like breaks up because they're not, you know, the other person's like, well, wait a minute, this is not, why am I supporting your adult child? You know, all that to say, it's catch and release. You get your kids, you raise them well, you do the best you can, and you release them out into the world. And you're there to love and support them. You're not there to live their life for them. There is growth that happens when you got to sink or swim on your own merits, right? So that's the goal with kids. And like, so I think of this guy with this girlfriend who doesn't want to affirm his children. And it's like, why would you be with her in the first place?
Why?
She might have been a cute, like, hot piece, but no. Why would you not love your kids that way? Why? And I see it with women, you know, they bring guys and you're just like, why? Why would you put this person in your child's life?
It goes both ways. I've seen it with women too, for sure.
So it's like, your kids come first. Your kids come, you know, they are the priority until they are old enough to take care of themselves. You know? Yeah.
I mean, I was going to say, like, for women who are not married and are dating or wanting to marry or want to date someone, and you start dating someone and they have a child, I can't tell you what to do, but I'm going to suggest this to you. Do not make him feel bad for needing or wanting to spend time with his children if he has them. Because there are the instances where you will meet someone and you will fall for them, and that is the person that God has purposed for you, but they have a child or children with someone else. You need to not let your insecurities of any sort make you jealous of the woman he was with previously or his children. They should always come first. God, them, and you. Period. And if you get married, then maybe the situation that should not change. They should be as welcomed in your house as they are in their own house. They should feel comfortable in your house as they feel at home. Because I promise you, children hear and feel everything. They may not say it and they may not admit it or anything, but they can tell when a dad's girlfriend doesn't like them. They can tell when mommy's boyfriend doesn't like them, and they may not say it. And sometimes those cause situations where the kids start internalizing and being afraid to speak out. Make the environment healthy and safe for them as you would want for your own children when and if you have any. Point blank, period. There's no argument. Don't at me. No nothing. That is how it should go because his kids are the most important. Period.
Well, and you know, one of the things that guy said in the Reddit post was talking about how much his kid's mom had made it possible and worked to be that. She was cooperating and she was doing the thing that she as a mom, you know, you see this all the time too, where it's like moms get mad because there's a new girl and they have not done the work to get over the hurt in their own heart, that they're not, that, you know,
don't be that woman either.
Right. So again, set aside your own hurts. There will be time to deal with those. You need to do, as parents, your job is to do what is best for your kid. And if that means cooperating and getting along with the other people who are going to be their main influences in life, which is your ex-partner and their new partner, then do that. Like, why make your children suffer?
Yeah.
Because you're angry. You have put it this way. I said before, you don't have a right to be angry. Be angry. Fine. If you want to feel angry about it, but don't make your kids be the ones that pay for it. Like, it
will backfire, because that feeds into their insecurities, that feeds into their life, and it will cause them to react in not great ways later, possibly. Trust me, I've seen it. Not only have I been that person, but I've seen it in other people, and I've seen it in my students. This development stage of their lives is very important. Yeah. You need to, just like you feed your soul, what you need to do, you pray or you meditate or whatever it is that you do. Children need to be fed spiritually as well. We need to not only teach them, for those of us who are believers, the ways of the word and the Bible and about God, but also teach them what being loved looks like. And what being loved feels like. And what your opinion is important. We tell kids, you know, I grew up in a generation, my mom wasn't like this, but I grew up in a generation where kids, you know, you're seen and not heard. And though you are seen and you're not heard in certain arenas, you don't talk when adults are speaking. I still believe that. I've seen too many grown kids these days. That's another subject for another day. But you need to be able to listen to your children. You need to be able to hear them out. Don't shut them down. Listen when they tell you that Uncle such and such looks crazy at them, or they feel uncomfortable in a room with Auntie such and such. You need to pay attention. You need to make sure that they understand and not seek out love from other situations and people. Hi, my name is Joy. I did that. Promise you, it started at the root of a childhood situation. It had nothing to do with the fact that my mom was loving me, but I had that love for my mother, but I was seeking something else. Make sure that everything that your child is seeking, that you are able to give them. And if you can't, provide the opportunities for them to do so, even if that's through therapy. Get them therapy, get them talking to someone, because remember, they see and hear and feel every single thing. Every single thing. It is so important. I'm an advocate. I am an advocate for kids. I've seen too many situations where, even with my students, not just myself in my past, but my students who have parents who don't hear them, who are fearful of things, who don't feel that they're beautiful, who don't think that they're smart because their parent said something about them being dumb or whatever. Watch what you say and how you say it to your kids. And most importantly, I promise you, listening to them, even if you don't think it's important, even if you think they're just 5 and they don't know what they're talking about, even if you think they're just 10 and they don't know what they're talking about, have respectful conversations with your children. Now, I know some of you are like, you don't have kids, you don't know what you're talking about. No, I don't, but I was a kid. I was a kid that dealt with a whole lot of stuff. It wasn't that my mother, let me just say this, my mother wanted to talk to me. I didn't know how, because I was stuck in my own head. I didn't know how to tell her how I felt. Right. Make it where they can.
Right.
That's all I'm saying.
Well, you know, you said something that show them what love is. When my dad's told this story a lot of times, and I think it has so many applications in our world. When I was born, he worked for a bank. And he was a teller for the bank. And as part of the training to become a teller, you have to learn to spot counterfeits. And you would think that, I'm going to look at counterfeits so I know what counterfeits are. No, the training to spot a counterfeit is you count a ton of real money. You look at real money. You touch real money. You feel what real money feels like, so that you are so conditioned to know what real is, that when you come across fake, it stands out and is different. And I think that has so many applications in our lives. Show our kids what real love looks like. dads, show your daughters what it looks like to be loved. Demonstrate that with their mom, what it looks like to be loved, what it means to be taken care of, how a relationship should work. Like, understand those things, because not every kid is going to learn from negative, right? And here's the thing. No one's going to get 100% right, because we're humans and we screwed up, and that's how we do it.
Right.
But as much as you can, husbands, wives, moms, dads, make sure that you are demonstrating what genuine selfless love looks like toward that other person, so that your kids know the real thing and they seek after the real thing. You know, my mom and dad, you know, it's any marriage, you know, there were struggles with finances, and there were struggles with, you know, the growing together that couples do as they, you know, move. Sometimes, you know, you're not always in the same page with things. And, you know, you have, I was there and I had a front row seat, particularly as an only child, you know, you're right on top of things as an only child.
Right.
And like, I watched so carefully and so closely how they interacted with one another. And that informed so much of my own understanding of relationships, both good and bad, you know? Because humans, good and bad. And it gave me the ability, I think, in many ways to know, like when I was dating my ex, and go, this is not the way that I should be treated. This is not the way I should be viewed in this relationship. This is not the partnership that I know is the right way, because I've seen, you know? And so when I met John and we started dating, I could tell that it was the right kind of partnership and it was the right kind of relationship, because first off, I knew how to pour into that as well. But also I was receiving a kind of love that I had seen and knew was a healthy, mature, selfless kind of love. And that is the foundation on Christ, of course, that has made our relationship really strong in the face of a lot of external stuff. And the reason that I'm so passionate about it is because I want kids to know they're safe and they're loved, because that feeling of being safe and being loved makes such an impact on them as they grow up. And particularly for girls. It's important for boys too, don't get me wrong. But I think particularly for girls, like, they will go and look for love if they don't feel it. So help them know that they are loved as kids, so that they don't feel a need to go out and look for, so that they are okay with who they are and they can be the best version of themselves. There's a young woman that I have spent a lot of time talking with over the last few years, and she's single, and she's, you know, I say she's, you know, late 20s, early 30s, I think when it is. And she doesn't want to be single, and I don't blame her. I didn't want to be single either. I get it. I don't either. and I know that hurt, and I never want to forget that hurt, because I never want to lose empathy for that. And it's a deep, soul crushing, pit of your stomach hurt. But the thing that I learned, that I think was the most transformative thing for me in my singleness, was that, it's summed up, and I'm going to butcher this quote. I think it is by C.S. Lewis. He who has God plus a million things has no more than he who has God alone. And what that quote means for me, as I think about it in terms of that, is I could have the sexiest husband on the planet, and I do, but we digress. I could have the sexiest husband on the planet. I could have $1 million in the bank. I could be a size 9. I could be, you know, whatever, all the million things that I want. I could have influence. I could have a book deal. I could have a record deal. I could be on TV. I could whatever. And if I am not content in who I am in Christ, and if I'm not content with Christ, none of the rest of that will make a difference, because I'm still going to be constantly searching. And if I have Christ, he's enough. If I know the love of Christ and I'm secure in the love of Christ, that makes me secure in my marriage, in my book deal, in my record deal, in my TV deal, you know, in my $1 million and my size 9 and whatever. Like, those are the things that make me secure in that, right? I'm going to claim it. Name it, claim it. I'm going to wake up a size 9 in Jesus' name.
I'm like, yep. I'm a 10. But the book deal and the TV deals, we can take that. That's fine.
We'll take all that. All that to say, I think that we have to be in a place where we are okay resting in the love of God. Doesn't mean we don't want to be married. Doesn't mean we don't want to have all those other things, but it means that we are choosing that God will be enough. And if we choose that God will be enough, then we operate out of the fullness of who God made us to be. I don't know if you guys can hear that. My dog is barking in his sleep and it's super cute.
I was wondering what that was.
He does these things with tiny woofs. He's so cute. Anyway, you can do it again.
He did it again.
We record as tiny woofs. We are stalkers. It's okay. All that to say is if we are confident and secure and okay with who we are in Christ, then we don't need to seek that validation and that love in other places. We can want it in other places, but we'll know if it's not genuine because we know what the true love is.
And we have to teach kids that way as well. We have to be able to find a way to make that a kid's way. And I will say this also. I was teaching a seminar a couple years ago, and the majority, and it's funny, the story was in the book. That's probably why it's fresh in my brain. The majority of the girls who were there were from single parent homes, mainly fatherless homes. And one thing I told them, because it was a bunch of teenage girls, preteen and teenage, was this. And I say this to them, and I say this to moms who are single moms. Be careful how you talk about your stresses in front of them. Be careful how you express what you're going through in front of them, because a lot of them that day broke when I told them that it's okay. You don't have to carry the weight of your mother with you, and not the weight of a negative thing, but wanting to help and wanting to help provide and wanting to help pay the bills and wanting to help her and to feel the emptiness that the mom has and to carry those burdens. You can't. You're a child, and they are a child, and you need to encourage them to be children, to be teenagers. Sorry, there is a lip gloss thing happening here for those of you who are watching. I'm so sorry.
I know, for you.
Okay. Yeah. The joys of watching us and hearing us, because random things happen and we got to go with it. Just be, we are lip gloss mishaps and all.
Right.
But that situation helped free them a little bit. Some of the girls that were there but then you also had some of the moms that were in the room who didn't know that their daughters were taking on that weight. There's a lot of weight that kids of single parents sometimes carry because of what they see, what they hear, what they feel. Be honest and open with your kids. My mom and I are very much were that way, but I didn't express to her, that is kind of stressing me a little bit, or that feels this way. Be open when your kid is telling you, like, Mom, I understand, but I can't do anything about that, but I can pray with you, or I can something. But find a way for them to, that's also what I meant by allowing them to be expressive, because they carry things and they don't know that, it's okay to tell you what they're carrying, because they also see the hurt that you're going through, and they see the things that you're going through, even about the ex situation. They can see that this hurts you, and they don't know how to help you. Explain to them it is not their responsibility to help you, and not saying that your intentions were wrong or that you were doing it on purpose, because you're not. We get out our feelings, we say it, and things happen, people are around us.
Yeah, we make mistakes.
I've had people hear me say the wrong things too, but I'm not saying that you're wrong either, but just hear my heart and understand that your kids do take on that weight. They really do. And they may not tell you, but they're taking on the weight. So make it open for them to be able to tell you. I sadly saw a lot of my friends go through, they didn't have parents they can talk to. I unfortunately didn't always use the parent I could talk to, but be that parent. Don't necessarily say, well, I wasn't raised that way. Well, okay, Was the way you was raised perfect? Was it right? How's your relationship with your parents? Like, come on, people. I just, yeah. It's as you can see, this is close to my heart. So that whole situation, when I saw it, I was just like, there's so many things to unpack in this situation, from the girlfriend to the ex-husband to the, and don't, if you're in a situation where you may still, I don't know why I'm saying this, where you and your ex have gotten divorced, no matter what the situation was, and you guys feel like it wasn't the right decision, go to God about it. Go to counseling about it. Talk about it. Parent trap it. Do anything. God can do anything, even restore broken relationships. And sometimes restoring broken relationships doesn't mean that you're going to give to somebody else. It could mean that he's going to bring you back to the person that broke you.
And that being
said,
I
have no idea why I just told you that.
We do not stand toxic relationships. So
no, we do not. That's not what I'm saying.
No, we are saying as God leads, not
not as you or me lead, but as God leads.
Hallelujah, amen. Alrighty, guys, we kind of did the whole full digression. It was Broadway to TikTok to relationships to parenting. So yeah,
did.
We really.
We'll save the next interweb story for the next.
Right. We have more content
for the next show.
Because that one is the other one is
that's gonna take a minute. So
that's gonna take a minute. There's so much to unpack on that one. Hey, we appreciate you guys watching and listening. Thank you so much for being a part of this episode. Hit us up on our website, joyandjess.com. You can leave us a video comment, actually not a video comment, audio comment, and then maybe you'll be a part of the show. There you can hit us up on social media at We Digress with Joy_Jess. Leave us a comment and hit us with the DMs, but keep it, hit
us in the DMs.
Above board.
Yeah,
no sketch
please.
Don't do that.
If you do anything sketch, I will block you. I have a relationship with the block button, and it's nice.
Amen. And on that note, have a good one, guys. We'll see you next time.
See you next time.
Thanks for listening. Check us out on the web at joyandjess.com. That's JOIANDJESS.com. We'll see you next week.